Hey, what's up, folks? How's it going? This is Avijit here, and welcome back to Devops Challenge Hub. And today's interview question, we'll start with today's interview questions. Let me share my screen and let's go to today's interview question section. So, today's interview question is: how does S3 handle permissions and security? So, what are the different ways S3 bucket handle permissions and security? So, we'll have a look at it today. So there are five different ways. The first one is identity-based access. Identity-based access means we create a user and then we create policies, and user is able to log into the system. So user is authenticated to the system, and based on the policy, user is able to upload file, download file, delete files based on the policy, right? So that's the authorization. Whether user is authorized to upload file, authorized to delete file, authorized to download file. So all these are dependent on authorization. Authentication is user just logging to the system. But after logging to system, user may not have any access to S3 bucket. User may have access only to EC2, launching EC2 instance. That's it. User may not have access to accessing S3 bucket. So that is a identity-based access. Identity-based access. So here we use AWS IAM policy to control user roles and who can access what is in S3. Second one is resource-based access. You have, let's say, I have created a lot of S3 buckets. Bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3. And bucket 1, I want everyone in the internet to access that. So it will be, I will apply a bucket policy. So it will be resource based. Or maybe one particular file, I want to make it public, want to make it accessible to anyone in the internet. It doesn't matter whether he or she has account on my AWS or not. It doesn't matter. So that's a resource based access. Third option, third one, like we already discussed, that authentication and authorization. So every request to S3 is authenticated, signed with credentials. You have to log into the system, AWS system, and then you have to authorize it. Whether you download, upload, all this permission, it can be authorized. It's mainly for IAM policies, identity-based access. But resource-based access, this is not required because we can make it accessible to anyone. It doesn't need to authenticate, authorize into the system. It can be anyone outside the system also. But in the resource-based access, we specify in the policy. But we'll have a look at it all this. Encryption is you can encrypt the data at rest and also in transit. Encrypting data at rest means whatever files you're uploading into the S3 bucket, on the server side, it will be encrypted. It will be encrypted using some key. Okay. And data in transit means when you are accessing that data, you are accessing through HTTPS. So that is also secure. Like uh, it's not plain HTTP, it's a HTTPS. So that is also encrypted. And the last one is versioning logging. Versioning is what? If you enable versioning in the web bucket and you upload a file, and then someone else again upload another file, then new version will be created, and you will be able to figure it out. Like you may be able to go back to previous version; it won't be deleted, right? So if versioning is enabled, so that is also a part of the security. You are able to maintain all the versions. Then there is a logging. Who is uploading what? Everything will be logged. That is also part of the security. And MFA, multi-factor authentication deletes. You can specify if user has logged in with MFA, then only he'll be able to delete it. So that also you can specify. So these are the different methods. One is identity-based access. You have created a role and a policy, and you log into the system. Then you have some access. That's identity-based. Then bucket or resource-based. Then authentication authorization, encryption of data, and then we have versioning, logging, and MFA. So here we have two types of policy: S3 bucket policy and IAM policy. How they're different? Bucket policy is specific to S3 bucket. It's a resource-based. Bucket policy is resource-based. IAM policy is it's specific to user or role. It can be user, it can be role also. Let's say like EC2 instance is running, and it needs a role to upload some file into some bucket. It has some certain role, and that has permission to upload some file to a certain bucket. So that way we can have IAM policies. Scope, bucket policy, control access to that bucket and its object. It's only limited to that bucket. IAM policy controls access of the user role to AWS resources. So with IAM, you can say that this guy can delete. He has full access to S3, or he can read from S3 bucket, or he can't do anything on S3, but other resources he can handle, like EC2. So all this we can do in IAM policy. Who it affects? Any user, even outside your AWS accounts for bucket policy. Buckets policy, even outside your AWS account also it affects. IAM policy is only AWS users and roles inside your account. Only AWS users and roles inside your account. For example, bucket policy allow anyone to download files from this bucket. This is a bucket policy. Allow anyone in the internet to download the files from this bucket. IAM policy allow this particular user, ABCD user, to upload file to any bucket. Okay. So we'll see some example. Bucket policy attached to the bucket. IAM policy attached to user or role. Right. IAM policy here, like let's say, like if I go to IAM, what I will do, I will create one IAM user. I can create any user. After creating user, what I can do, I can create a policy. User, let's say S3 user, S3 bucket user, or something like that. I can create user. In the dashboard, I can create users. And then I can create roles. Roles also like for like if for EC2 instance or other things, we can apply roles. I will discuss this user roles policies in more details in upcoming interview series. So user, we have then roles and then policies. Policies like let's say S3 bucket. Here, if I go to policy, see S3. If I type S3 here, S3 full access. Amazon S3 full access. It means if I attach this policy to a particular user, that user will have full access to S3. Can read, write, delete, update, upload. Like it can do everything. It has all full access. If I open that, you'll be able to see it. Services S3, S3 full access. And then S3, what else we have? S3 read. Yeah, Amazon S3 read only access. This is only for read only. So with this policy, you'll be able to only read, get, list, describe. So you'll be able to only read. You won't be able to delete or download, right? Amazon S3 read only access. And we can create our own JSON files. So that way, these are like some default things, but we can have more customized, more complex JSON file, policy file we can create. So this is about IAM policies. This is about IAM and policies. IAM policies. Now we can go to the S3 bucket and we can have a look at S3 bucket policy. Go to S3 and we can have a look at one particular bucket, and that bucket will have permissions and policies. So this is one bucket here. It's still loading. Bucket, yeah. So this is Devops bucket second May, and if I open this bucket, I will have permissions. If I go to permissions, I should be able to see policies. There are like under permission, we have block public access. Block all public access is on. And then there are some settings like individual block public access settings for this bucket. There are different settings are there. Here bucket policy is there. So I can edit it and then I can apply bucket policies or create a new policy here. So this is like whatever policy I will create here, it will be applicable to this bucket only. So whatever policy I will create, it will be affecting this bucket or whatever objects are there inside the bucket. Okay. Now let's look at some of the use cases so that it's clear to you. Use cases: public read-only access to static website. So I have in the uploaded some files in S3 bucket, HTML file, and anyone should be able to access because it's a static website. So I will do it in bucket policy, not in IAM policy. Allows public to read website files in the bucket, like principal star action S3 get object. Right? This is the minimal JSON. Allow specific IP range for uploads only. Allow uploads only from specific IP. This will allow upload only from specific IP. This is also bucket policy. Cross account access for log storage. This is also like I have given the number of that account. Like if I want to give it to my give it to another company some access to my bucket, maybe for storing logs, etc. So that account uh, unique ID and account name I can give here. It's a root. Deny deletes from non-MFA authenticate users. So prevent deletes unless MFA is used. So this is also it's a bucket policy. Allow CloudFront access via OAI bucket. This is also bucket policy. Now we'll have a look at some of the IAM policy like developer upload access to dev bucket. So one particular user, he will be able to upload files. He will have upload access to some particular bucket. So it will be have IAM policy. So user will have policy. So this policy I will attach to IAM user. So that's why it's IAM policy. So user will have permission to do this put action. Read only access to all S3 bucket. This is also IAM policy. Time limited access via condition. Temporary access within date range. That is also IAM policy. Restrict access to certain bucket by tag. If it is a production, then access only if the bucket has tag production. So this particular user, S3 production user, S3 production user, I will create one user account, and after that policy, I will attach this policy. So because of this policy, it will be able to access the bucket which has a tag production. So this is all IAM policy. Allow backup tool full access to backup bucket. This is also IAM policy, full access for automated backup. So I've given you some examples of IAM policy and bucket policy. Bucket policy is nothing but a resource-based policy. So we'll have a look at one practical demo. Won't go into details, but we'll have identity-based access, that is the IAM-based role and etc. Resource-based, that is a bucket policy. Authentication authorization, that is the your user ID password, you log into the dashboard or through your API key. Okay. Authentication, once you authenticate it, whether you're authorized or not using policies. If policy allows you to upload file, then you will be able to upload, otherwise not. Then encryption of the data. Right? We have discussed about the data encryption. We can enable in the bucket settings. The data will be encrypted. Then we can turn on versioning on the bucket. We can enable logging and MFA delete option. Okay. So these are the different options and to implement securities on S3 bucket. So let's say like one particular company, it wants to allow only one user, S3 user, to upload document. No other user can upload a document. Only this guy, S3 user, will be able to upload document. So what I will do, I will go to IAM. I will create a IAM user. After creating IAM user, I will create a policy. I will create a policy. I will create a policy like this. I will create a IAM S3 user. Then I will create a IAM policy. And this, I will attach this policy to that particular user. So this policy says allows put object ACL for this particular component documents S3 buckets. So that particular user will be able to upload or put objects into that particular S3 bucket. S3 user can upload put object and set ACLs for objects only inside component documents bucket. Next one will be resource-based access. So I will go to here after creating the user here, creating policy here, I will attach the policy to the user. That will be done. That is IAM policy-based access. Then I will go to the S3 particular bucket and I will create a policy. Under permission policy, you have seen when I have shown you before. So there I will create this kind of policy, which will say that principal star. That means any user can download that is get object, any user that is star can get object, can download from the bucket. This is resource-based access because policy is attached to the bucket. Authentication authorization, AWS takes IAM credential or access key secret key of S3 user. So that's the authentication part. Then it validates IAM policy. Upload is allowed or not. That's authorization. So authentication authorization is done. When someone downloads a file, no authentication is needed because public access is allowed in the bucket policy. So every request is either authenticated or checked against permission. So it's either authenticated or checked against permission. Next one is the encryption. In the bucket settings, we can enable default encryption. Okay. SSE S3, AWS manages keys. Encryption in transit. Always use the HTTPS URL for upload download. HTTPS URL, you can use HTTPS. Don't use HTTP, use HTTPS. And then we can enable versioning in the bucket, logging, and MFA delete. In the bucket properties, enable versioning. If someone uploads file with the same name, S3 keeps both versions. It doesn't get deleted. Old version doesn't get deleted. So that will set by mistake if someone uploads also wrong version, your old version you can recover. MFA delete, you can enable MFA delete, extra settings, extra versioning. To delete an object, user must provide MFA token. And you can enable logging. Log will be written to another S3 bucket and you can keep it track on who is doing what. These are the different things. IAM policy, bucket policy, authentication, authorization, encryption address, encryption in transit, versioning, MFA delete, and logging. So these are the different ways we can implement securities, right? Okay. So IAM policy control who can upload, which user can upload, or which user can download, or which user can delete. Bucket policy controls who can download or what bucket, what object, what particular object. Authentication, all upload requests are signed and checked. Encryption, data is encrypted, both moving and in transit, and staying data at rest. Versioning plus MFA protect against accidental and malicious deletion. Okay. Now, you know that we can, whatever I have shown you from the AWS dashboard, we can do it from the command line also. Create bucket command is there. Then put bucket encryption, enable default encryption, company documents, server-side encryption configuration, we can apply. Now all files updated, encrypted address automatically. We can enable versioning, AWS S3 put bucket versioning, then bucket name, versioning configuration status enable. Add bucket policy, we can add bucket policy, right? All these things we can do from the command line. Okay. AWS S3CP, copy this file to a bucket, upload files. After upload, because of update policy, the file is not publicly downloadable by anyone using the URL, right? Using this HTTPS URL, anyone can download the file. No need for authentication. We have CLI create bucket, put bucket description, put bucket versioning, put bucket policy, CP upload, all these options are there. So now let's go to today's quiz. Which AWS policy allows public to read file from a static website hosted on an S3 bucket? Which policy? Is it IAM policy or bucket policy or what? Actually, it's a bucket policy, right? We have seen this principal start means any user can do get object. That's a bucket policy. What is the purpose of the following bucket policy snippet? So this is the IP address. So it allows upload only from specific IP range. Upload only from specific IP range. Understand it. See which policy type should be used to restrict developer to uploading only to /dev prefix in S3 bucket. Only to /dev. Which policy? It's a this one, right? See, IAM policy action S3 put object resources name here my AWS ARN AWS S3 my bucket /dev/type. So here you mention the resource, so what kind of action can be done, and then it is policy attached to the role, right? So IAM policy based thing, where you say that in this particular folder you will be able to, this developer will be able to upload, right? And auditor needs to review list of all objects across all S3 bucket. what I am policy would fulfill this. Auditor wants to view list all objects across all buckets. So what I am policy will help. So I am policy will help is B. Action S3 get object S3 list bucket resource start. So this one will help. So that's it for today. Hope you like this. Please like, share, and follow my channel, follow my YouTube channel. And I also post quiz on my DevOps Challenge Hub LinkedIn page. So participate in the quiz and participate in the contest, and also follow my WhatsApp channel for regular updates. Thank you for watching this video. See you again in the next video.